we'll start with a little breaking news inside SportsCenter from the NBA. Howard to Hollywood for the sequel. Dwight Howard finalizing a contract buyout with the Grizzlies. That's done. He'll sign with the Lakers. They have a void after the DeMarcus Cousins torn ACL. Woj is on the way in minutes with all the details, including how members of the current roster had a hand in making this return happen.
Didn't work with Kobe. Is it going to work with LeBron?
2012-2013 was not good for those two. The Lakers making the move, as you mentioned. Kobe, it's his 41st birthday. Plenty to get to over the next hour with Kevin Nagandi. I'm Zubin Mehenti. A night after Daniel Jones impressed yet again, we're about to see what his new texting buddy might do with his chance in the spotlight.
Don't press send, right, Daniel? Don't press send, Daniel, tonight. For Baker, bring on a few of those spotlights. The man likes to shine, but for how long tonight? Week 3 of the preseason.
Ezekiel Elliott wants a new deal. Breaking news, Dwight Howard's going to get one with the Lakers. Woj reporting that a buyout with Memphis has been completed. He's going to be back in purple and gold once again. He did spend 1 year with the Lakers back in 2012-2013. More on that in a second. The DeMarcus Cousins ACL injury, as you know, has created a void, and apparently Rob Pelinka and company have filled it for the moment. Woj joins us tonight here on SportsCenter. They worked out Howard, Joakim Noah, Maurice Spates. Why did they choose Superman?
Well, Dwight Howard is the player that they see that can fill their needs to rebound, protect the rim. They saw a healthy back. They saw a player who had dropped 25 pounds. It has not been the talent with Dwight Howard that has made teams so skeptical about bringing him in. It is what he does in locker rooms, with coaching staffs, with teammates. That is why I'm told he has a non-guaranteed deal. The Lakers can cut him anytime before January 7th and not owe him any money for the rest of this season.
Interesting. Sometimes your reputation precedes you. Before I let you go, you reported today that the Lakers players were involved in this process. Take me inside here.
Well, Anthony Davis was one of those players, I'm told, who was at the facility, talked with Dwight Howard. They had everybody with him, management, coaching staff. Remember, Frank Vogel, Jason Kidd. They've got a lot of people invested in keeping him in line, and they sent a very clear message to Dwight Howard over the last couple of days. If you step out of line, if you become a disruption in any way around this team, you are out of here. He is very much on notice walking in with the Lakers, but they saw a humbled player. They saw a player who said all the right things, but Dwight has done that for years, saying, I'm going to change. They're going to judge him on action over words right now.
We'll see what develops. He may not be the same type of talent. Bottom line, he's still a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and an 8-time All-Star. They'd love a fraction of that this fall. That's the NBA's best insider. Howard's first stint, Kevin and I mentioned at the top of the show, if you were with us, wasn't pretty. Nash, Kobe, Gasol, they had such great hopes, but the Lakers finished 7th in the West. Kobe tore his Achilles. Howard was ejected in his final game in a Lakers uniform. But alas, Kevin, apparently it's not his final game in a Lakers uniform.
Season, usually you get, to see the most from the starting quarterback. Last year's #1 pick will take the field against the Bucks after he sat out week 2 and only played one series in week 3 of the preseason. Could be his final tune-up before their season opener at home against the Titans. Another Heisman winner and former top overall pick, Jameis Winston, looking to get a feel for the new offense under Bruce Arians. Winston played one series in each of the Bucks' first 2 preseason games. It'll be a night where all the starters for each team likely get their final live reps before the regular season. Interesting backstory, these teams have the longest active playoff droughts in the NFL. We know one guy you won't see on the field playing tonight, Odell Beckham Jr. He's not played so far this preseason. He will not play tonight, according to Josina Anderson. You say her name, and then she shows up on the screen. Much more on that story. Josina Anderson joins us now live from Tampa. JoJo, what should Browns fans make of Odell not playing tonight?
Well, Kevin, when I text Odell coming into this 3rd preseason game, how are you feeling? He texts me that he's feeling much, much better, but still he needs to be mindful of that hip core strain that he has that has kept him out of team padded drills since August 6th. And in that same text, he indicated that he was not playing. I'm also not expecting Jarvis Landry to play either. Now, when you think of Odell catching balls, he has to be very athletic and acrobatic, leaning and stretching, so you just don't want to aggravate it. So to be clear, for week 1, I think he would play, but since it's not, he doesn't need to.
Okay, then what can we expect to see from the starting quarterbacks? As I mentioned, Mayfield and Winston tonight?
Well, you're right. All eyes will be on both starting quarterbacks tonight, that being Baker Mayfield and Jameis Winston. Now, expect extended playing time for Baker Mayfield tonight, especially in comparison to the first preseason game, which was his last action against the Washington Redskins when he went 5 for 6 for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, Freddie Kitchens indicated that the starters are not playing in the last preseason game, so that's certainly factoring tonight. So if the weather holds, I expect Baker Mayfield to go up to a half. Now, as for Jameis Winston, Coach just told me a few moments ago they're going to try to get at least a quarter and a half for him. The focus, Bruce Arians says that they want him to protect the ball. That has been the mantra since Bruce Arians has come here. Remember, Jameis Winston right now ties for second for interceptions since he came into the league in 2015 with 58. So that is the big focus for him to be efficient tonight, Kevin. So we will see both quarterbacks tonight and how they flow. Back to you.
Game time, 7:30, Raymond James Stadium. Josina, thank you so much. Zubin?
Kevin, more quarterback talk here. This guy's getting more chatter than anyone. He's yet to throw a regular season pass, but when he will is truly the matter of intrigue. Some next-gen stats, giving you some great stats on Daniel Jones. He could throw the ball down the field big time. That was kind of a knock entering the National Football League. He was able to throw it left, right, down the middle, something he wasn't able to do that proficiently at Duke last season. And the difficulty of the throws is something a lot of people are thinking about. The average separation is less than a yard. So he's basically throwing it into the tightest of tight windows, something Eli wasn't great on doing a year ago. Pat Shurmur pleased last night.
About every 6 or 7 days now I've been able to tell you that's what we saw when we drafted him. So I think he just has a feel for playing the position. And he's getting, he's steadily getting better every time he takes the field, whether it's practice or games. And so that's what you're looking for from a young player. You can ask me all you want about why I like him. I think it's time to start asking the people that didn't like him what they think, quite frankly.
Now, during a conference call today, Shurmur was asked point blank if the Giants are considering starting Jones week 1 against the Cowboys. His quote, "Eli's our starter, and we're getting Daniel ready to play. I think he's done a good job in the preseason, as I've mentioned all along. He's getting better, and he's going to continue to do that so that whatever time we need him to play, he'll be ready." On Get Up this morning on ESPN, our Ryan Clark had a different take.
Daniel Jones has shown you that he can be that dude. And Eli hasn't played terrible this preseason, but he also hasn't gotten a ton of snaps, and we've watched him decline for 3 years. Daniel Jones has shown you that he can do it. If you believe he is who he was when you drafted him, and now he's shown you that you're right, let it play out. Now, I do understand how football works, right? You have Eli Manning. You want to wait until he shows you that they're no longer competitive so you can move on to him, because if you start with Daniel Jones, there is no going back to Eli Manning. Once you make that move, you stick with it. What I'm saying is it's time to make the move, though.
Let's see if our Lou Riddick agrees. On Monday Night Football, I heard Joe Tessitore say earlier in the week, there's no sort of overreaction like preseason overreaction. Yeah. But here you are. We've seen the sample size. When is it time for him to take over the reins?
Look, I agree with what the Giants are doing as far as a plan, starting with Eli, understanding that the regular season is a much different beast than the preseason. That doesn't take away the fact that Daniel Jones has aced all the tests that they put in front of him, but understand with some context what kind of defenses that he's facing here, and that it's not going to be like that in the regular season. Let Eli start. Eli has only taken a certain number of snaps in the preseason and hasn't been put in some of the same situations Daniel has. If you played him more, maybe Eli's stats wouldn't match Daniel Jones. So I would go with him, continue to get Daniel ready, and understand that once he gets to the regular season, teams are going to start really picking his game apart and start pushing on those pressure points that make him uncomfortable, going all the way back to college, and maybe some things that they have determined would make him uncomfortable at the pro level, which teams haven't done yet. Just think about Kyler Murray, okay, just for an instance. And we're not talking about him, but think about it like this. His first preseason game, people thought, oh, my God, this offense can't be stopped. Look at how good Kyler looks. Oakland came out in the second week of the preseason and said, we're going to show you a little something. How do you react to this? When we start putting double A-gap blitzes up here, sending our nickels off the corner, pulling you up on the edges, not letting you run, all of a sudden he looked totally different. That's what the regular season will do to you. That's what happens when defensive coordinators start getting after you. Daniel has absolutely knocked it out the park. But let's just keep it in context. Let Eli start. Eventually he's going to play. And hopefully he can duplicate the performance he's put up so far.
It's fair enough. We're still dealing with 90-man rosters.
That's
Let's
right.
keep that in mind. Lou will be back in a little bit to discuss another quarterback situation. How can LaFleur and Rodgers hit the ground running with their new offense in Green Bay if they don't get any preseason reps? We'll ask Lou that on the way. Hang tight.
28 days while he remains in Cabo with 2 years left on his rookie deal. The Cowboys have had an offer on the table for nearly 3 weeks that would make Zeke the second highest paid running back when it comes to average annual salary. The unknown is the structure and the guaranteed money in the offer. Earlier today, Stephen Jones on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas providing an update.
I don't think we're close because there's not a lot of activity. Usually when you're close, it's you start to feel it and there's a lot of conversation. But right now, I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel anything's imminent. We feel confident that these things are going to get done. We've been optimistic, still are optimistic. It's just, eventually getting to a point where you're doing some back and forth, and usually those things get done. They happen really quick. No concern at this point. We feel really good about where we are and that we can get something done.
The way the team's built, especially that offensive line, the Cowboys need Zeke, as no team has had a more direct correlation between winning and a workhorse back than Dallas. Go back to 1980. They've had a 1,200-yard rusher 11 of the 13 times they won a division title when they had a 1,200-yard rusher. Think of Dorsett, think of Emmitt Smith. That's 85%, the highest rate in the league.
Kev?